All right, here we go. Cycling Through Your Life, episode number 12, I guess. Or is it like this? Whatever, 12. Yeah, we on it, man. We are on it. It's kind of a rainy day here in New York City. I didn't even know it was raining. I came out and everything is wet. The bench is wet, everything. So, yeah, it's been an interesting week. It's been an interesting week for cycling through your life. Yes. I got a bunch of new subscribers, which is great. I got people leaving comments and liking the page and everything. It was very inspiring. Very inspiring. Yeah, I got a lot of phone calls. People, texting me, telling me, they liked what I'm doing. They liked that episode. So there it is. It's not what you think. It's what you think about. And that's kind of been my mantra for a while, But I just put it out there, and people seem to react to it. Everything is wet. Okay. So yeah, what are we talking about today? What are we talking about? We're talking about people. We're talking about humans and the concept of evolution, and also the concept of devolution. We have an idea, we've been fed an idea that time moves forward. Yes, there's no going back. But as time moves forward, we evolve, we elevate, we get better. We gain more understanding. But that's not always true. That's not always true. Because empires rise and fall. They have an evolution and then they have a devolution. Societies rise and fall. I mean, there's evidence of communities, societies that evolved to a very high point, and now they're basically living in huts and, back to being hunter-gatherers. We don't really know what happened to them. How come they lost their status? I don't know. And basically what brought this to mind is the movie that Questlove did. I don't know why it's not getting into my mind right now. But we're going to try to navigate through that. It was, most of it was recording in the same weekend that the United States landed on the moon. And something so, I can't think of it, but I'll put it up there. But yeah. And they had almost every popular R&B, Latin, gospel, funk. So many artists graced that stage over there at what was called Mount Morris Park. Now it's known as Marcus Garvey Park, but it was just great to see the different musicians, different styles, gospel with Latin, Latin with soul and R&B and funk. I mean, everybody was there. And the people just loved it. And that's where I'm getting to. When the camera panned the audience, I had to stop and think and say, who are those people? Who are those slim, in shape, afros or not, smiling, energetic, positive looking people? That was the audience. And to my eyes, they look like different people. And then I saw this this video of a Harlem block party, and there was a camera out there, and they were setting up for a block party. They had the music, and the people were bringing out the food, and the kids was playing, and I said, "Who are these people?" They look like different people. Everybody was slim. Everybody looked vibrant. It seemed like an open spirit, and the community was doing their thing, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. This is amazing. And those pictures of like 125th Street where black people just walking like in the 50s or the 40s or the 60s. And it's just people. They're all dressed up, and they're going shopping, and they had different. Their backs were straight. They had a different look to them. The main thing with me though is like everybody was slim. I don't know why. That's always the thing. But there weren't that many pudgy people as there are out here now. Pudge. But so when I see people today and compared to years gone by, is that an elevation, or is that devolution? That's what you want. Is that evolving, or is that devolving? Sometimes when they had the big movie thing on 13 years ago about the Civil War, and they did this whole documentary on the Civil War, both sides, and they were examining the people, not just the generals and the politicians, but the soldiers themselves, and who were they and what type of people that they were, both sides. And they did this through their letters that they would write home, right? And describing their condition, or professing their love for someone, their mother, their girlfriend, whatever. And they were so eloquent. They were so well written. They were poetic almost, right? Not almost, they were poetic. And these were men with 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade education, and the way they wrote and the way their minds worked was amazing to me, compared to what we have now of memes and texts and misspelled words. Your is completely two, and two is all mixed up. They don't know if it's T-O or T-O-O or T-W-O, or, if it's your, you are, or your. Yeah, it's all just accepted. It's all just out there, So is that evolution? I don't know. Maybe some people say, yeah, now, it's less formal. People will just, less formal. And, I relate to black people more, of course, but it's the same thing in the other communities here in the United States and maybe around the world, Reminds me of that movie Idiocracy, where people just stop trying to find out how things actually worked or why, So I'm saying all of this because as a navigator, people in my demographic, they've seen some things, They've seen the difference. And that scares a lot of people, that isolates a lot of people, and they begin to lose their sense of belonging, or, am I even relevant in this society? how I view the world or how I communicate or even how I might write a letter. You know, I mean, nowadays people just give it to AI and AI will write the letter, you know. That's definitely progress, I guess, you know. I guess, I don't know. But as somebody that, if you're born into this society and you know this is all you know, cell phones and iPads and instant messaging and all Snapchat and TikTok and all. If this is all you know, then this is all you know. So this is life, So just make the best of it. You see what you see, you do what you do, and you make the best of it, right? Right. But if you know the difference, you start to wonder, like, are we moving forward? Yeah, in time. But is the society moving forward? And how do I fit in it now? Am I relevant? Am I relevant? Those of you who are familiar with the poet Rumi, I'm paraphrasing because I can't remember it verbatim, but it goes something like, when I was clever, I tried to change the world. Now that I'm wise, I endeavor to change myself. Right? So, what is relevance, How do we decide who is relevant and who is not? Some of us interact with the world or expect the world to interact with us and prove or validate our relevance. If people don't interact with me in a certain way, then I might get offended or I might feel less than, I knew some people in my life that in conversation, like if there's a group of people in a conversation, and if the conversation wasn't about them or about something that related to them, they would actually feel like they weren't even there. That's the impression I got, and they would just jump in with something that brings the conversation back to them because they have a need to feel validated, right? And I guess all of us are like that, I think, in to varying degrees. Everybody wants to feel like they're being seen and that their experience is, your experience is relevant. And this is the same mantra as the last thing, it's not what you think, it's what you think about. How these thoughts go through your head will affect your emotions and will affect how you deal in the world, So, I guess it's kind of somber, sometimes. I don't mean to be bringing people down and stuff, but sometimes they say that I do, but it's just, as an older person, you think about your life, you think about your friends, the lives of your friends, and how they're dealing with it. But I say, you're relevant. You have to be relevant to yourself. First, you have to be aware of yourself and your reason for even being here. If you don't have a reason, you go find one. You go volunteer, or you go outside, or you join a group, or you connect with someone on the internet or something, If you don't have nothing to get up for in the morning, like, wow, what's going on, course, I always say do something creative, you know. I don't care. Crochet, knit, you know. Make Christmas sweaters that people may or may not wear, you know, or hats, or, you know, something to keep your mind busy. Me, I'm always learning stuff on the computer, new programs, new ways to record stuff, and all of that. So I guess I won't go crazy too quickly. Who knows? Some may say that already happened, but whatever. I don't care. I'm relevant to myself. That's kind of the message for the day, I think. It's I guess the older you get, or whatever, or the more you look into things, things just tend to become more spiritual, you know. I thought, or I always think this: the deeper you go into something, it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's sweeping the sidewalk or trying to split the atom. Doesn't matter what it is. The deeper you go into it, the more spiritual it becomes. Until you get to the bottom of it and there's nothing. You know, what I call divine nothingness, right? So the relevance of it all, right? The vibrations of it all. Not to be too, you know, spiritual, or, you know, take you on a woo-woo type journey this morning, but that's really how we find relevance. We do something and we do it to our best, you know, whatever level we can do it to, we do it to our best, and we'll find that within that thing we'll eventually find spirituality. You want to call it God or Jesus or however you believe, but you will find that energy at the bottom. And sometimes, you know, that's all the relevance that we really need to do something well, you know. Martin Luther King used to say, if you want to be the best a sweet sweeper, a street sweeper, a sweet sweeper, a street sweeper, be the best street sweeper. You know, see what the task is and do it to your best. You know, and I believe that you will find within that task, or within that endeavor, or within that thing that you want to do, there's peace in there, there's relevance in there, there's connection in there. Because those things are recognized. If somebody came in here right now and swept the hell out of this park, that would be recognized. That'd be like, wow, that dude was serious. You know, I think people find it also. People find that thing, you know, in church. It gives them purpose to do something, to be head of the council of women, or, you know, plan the preacher's anniversary, you know, or cook the food on Sundays, you know. These are things that people do. Some people might say they're little things, or might even say they're irrelevant things. But these are things that give people purpose, you know. And it's not the improvement of the world per se, it's the improvement of yourself, which is the world. And especially for people with memory of what used to be, you know, rather than lament the fact that, you know, things ain't what it used to be, you be that. You hold up that torch, you know, you hold up that example. And by and by, people will notice. People will notice. If you walk a certain way, if you present yourself a certain way, you will find the relevance in this life. So yeah, that's my spiel this morning. A little end run kind of, just to see how things evolve and how things go forward into time. Because we're mechanized or computerized doesn't mean that we're civilized. So people who are civilized have to be civilized regardless. People who know the difference have to be the difference. So yeah, we're gonna navigate this thing, man. We're gonna make it. We're gonna navigate out of it, through it, into it. Because we here. We ain't got no choice. We here. All right, y'all. Thanks again for watching and liking, sharing the page. You really warmed my heart to see how many people interacted with it. Like I said, we're small, but we're strong. We've grown. We're mighty. So that's it. That's the task. We just keep going. We be that example, even if it's in this little niche over here. That's the example. See you next time.